And welcome back everyone, and welcome to Guardians of the Galaxy, the game review. I am so keen for this one. This is actually like going to be a real positive review. I'm really keen to give you guys this one. First of all, before we get too far into things, it's going to be a spoiler-free review, so most of the gameplay you're going to be seeing is only about the first 3 to 4 hours of the game. It's more the intro section of the game, so don't have to worry too much about spoilers. It is all PS5 gameplay, and basically I want you guys to experience this game. So I'm going to give you very minimal gameplay, but you're going to see you're going to see a lot, but not too much of story and character development, all that kind of stuff. But without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so the story, obviously we all know Guardians of the Galaxy with the MCU lately, but the story follows Peter Quill, the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So you're talking Drax, Gamora, Groot, and of course Rocket. And basically, while on a mission to the quarantine zone to capture a monster and finally get some units, during their time in the quarantine zone, they stumble upon a stone that accidentally releases an alien entity. Now, while leaving the quarantine zone, they get caught up by the Nova Corps, who have already captured one Grand Unifier Raker, the leader of the Universal Church of Truth, who uses this alien entity to possess a child to manifest it into its physical form and take over the galaxy. Now, this story is true Marvel fashion. It is brought straight from the comic books. Even the characters, they're not obviously the 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy. They are actually stripped straight from the comic books. And yeah, it's a bit weird seeing your loved characters like this, but it's actually really cool. It's actually really good. And they throw you some alternative skins like the traditional 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy skins, and a couple of really other cool skins that go on top of that. But honestly, I kept it the classic, the skins they gave us at the start, and honestly, I started to love them. I thought they were really good. So the stuff about this story is, it's really actually quite good. That it does a full circle, start, middle, end, side characters, not too much. It's just a nice story-driven game, and we don't get those enough anymore. We always get multiplayer or like something in between, but it's so nice when you get something like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and now Guardians of the Galaxy that are just straight up story games, and they just tell their story really well. We just don't get that enough. So now that we've covered the story, let's get straight into the graphics. Alright, graphics, I think it's going to be obvious here. You look at this gameplay, and I didn't actually know this. I don't know how this went over my head, but Square Enix are actually the ones that developed this game. Obviously, won't blow us away with visually stunning graphics. Like, for one thing, I don't know how they do hair so well. Like, look at Rocket, look at Quill's hair. It's just so immaculately done so well. You can see every strand of hair. It's just, I don't know how they do it, but it's fantastic. The landscapes, there's lots of detail and everything. Even when there's a lot going on the screen, you can still visually see everything happening. It's really nice. There's not a lot of bugs, however I will mention there are two that I managed to come across. One was during a QuickTime event. The triangle button wouldn't leave the screen. Wasn't that bad, I just restarted my save and it was gone. And a second one during combat, a certain move that slows down time actually didn't stop. My time was continuously slow through the whole fight. Once again, reload save, it fixed it completely. So there are small graphical bugs or gameplay bugs. Nothing enough to be worried about, nothing enough to, you know, actually break the game. They'll probably be fixed within the first patch anyway, so not to worry about that. Yeah, so visually, I don't really know what else to say. It is actually stunning. The shadows, the lighting, there's a certain moment when you go to nowhere. It's not much of a spoiler that you go to nowhere. It's inside the universe, but it's just beautiful, and it's actually a bustling landscape. There's other characters walking around. It's really quite visually nice. I don't really have. You could just see the gameplay. It is fantastic. I'm going about my words here, but it's actually just visually spectacular. It is a good visual game. Moving on to gameplay. So gameplay is interesting in this game because no one really knew when this game came out. It definitely flew under the radar thanks to Marvels Avengers. That really didn't hit very well. But the gameplay was never really shown very well in the trailers, and it's actually pretty nice. So it's your normal kind of shooter. You just, you know, you play as Quill, but you can control the other 4 characters, so you don't actually play as them, but each character has 4 individual moves they can do, so you end up getting 20 different moves, like ultra moves you can say, that you can do at all times, and it's like there's a lot of actual strategy you can throw depending on what you want to do, because each character has 4 different moves, and they're generally depending on like clearing big groups of enemies, or actually dealing massive damage to a singular enemy, or just something like holding an enemy in place who will get very fast enemies. So they actually, every character has their own way of approaching that, and that's actually really nice, and you can use a little bit of strategy, which is actually quite nice. Beyond that, the gameplay is just, it's nice and simple. There's a little bit of platforming, there's a little bit of puzzle solving, and it is a very linear world, but that's the point. It is a story driven world. They don't need a lot because they're telling you a fantastic story. The only negative I've got to say about the actual gameplay is that some stuff does become a bit repetitive. The fight sequences, once you unlock all these moves, you unlock them pretty consistently, but there is a point where it's kind of like, alright, we're starting to slow down a bit, okay, we're starting to get a bit boring here, and that's just because they don't have a great variance of enemies. They do have quite a few, but you know, it's always nice to have those extra ones. All of them are pretty easy to deal with as well. I played on just the normal difficulty, and I had not one issue. I don't think I actually died once in any form of way in regards to combat, so yeah, it's just nice, but the difficulty could have gone up a bit more strategy could have gone into it. Obviously, with the Final Fantasy background, a little bit more of showing that would have been quite nice, but it's hard. I say it's a negative, but that's just me picking it apart. It's nothing that really jumps out at you as, oh wow, this is really repetitive. This is me going, oh, I mean, it would have been nice to see a bit more of this, would have been nice to see a bit more of that, that's all. Moving on to sound, okay, once again, Marvel. Orchestral music is stunning. The songs played by Quill are a little generic in regards to the 80s, 70s, 90s, that's the type of genre they go for. It's a little bit generic, a little bit too well known. I would have liked, in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, there were a couple of songs that you got the idea, but you probably actually haven't heard it in a very long time. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, so anyone going into this game will probably know every single song that comes up, and that is nice, but I kind of wouldn't mind something that's a bit new that makes me go, oh wow, let me look that up, that's actually quite good. Otherwise, apart from that, the gameplay around the sound, obviously with the fighting and all that kind of stuff, it all just sounds really nice. The voice acting is spectacular with every single one of these main characters. Actually, with all characters, I don't know one character that actually had bad voice acting. Everyone suits their character really well, and that's just one of the biggest positives I have. With that, I actually wanted to make characters a separate point to go over, because there are moments in regards to Drax, Rocket, and Gamora. Not much Groot, because I mean, let's be honest, Groot doesn't talk much, but every single one of them is so developed. Obviously, the movies try to give us as much as they can, but the movies are only, you know, the 2, maybe 3 hours long, but this is a 8 to 15 hour game where they just go so deep into these characters. I don't want to spoil much, but Drax just stood out to me so much, which is funny because in the movies he just kind of falls in the background and becomes a little bit invisible. But he just lit up the game for me. You go more into his background in regards to obviously his family who were murdered by the hands of Thanos, and him dealing with that, and just wow, man, like there was a certain point between him and Quill talking about their backstories, and it was so beautifully written. It could have brought me to tears. It was actually fantastic. Goes into Rocket more in regards to obviously how his upbringing was being experimented on, and Gamora, we know a lot about Gamora from the movies, but they chose a different route to go. They chose more of the protective sibling route towards the little girl, and that was really interesting. So it was more of, I was treated like this as a child, I don't want anyone else to be treated that way, and that was really beautiful to see. All of these characters in the Guardians, they're given so much time and so much more backstory, and it's really nice to see. Obviously with that, guys, we're going to the pros and cons. Pros, visually stunning. Gameplay is simple but engaging enough to be fun. Sound draws you into the world, such as Marvel is. Story is really well written and rounds off really nicely, you won't be disappointed. Characters are full of heart and personality, and that is the tip-top pro of this game in my personal experience. Now the cons, there are minor bugs that will most likely be fixed in the early patches. It's not enough for me to really give too much negativity towards the game, but it is something I'd like to mention and tell you guys. The songs are slightly generic. I would like a bit more different older school songs, or just, I don't know, it was missing that little bit of something. That's just my own opinion. Gameplay became a little bit repetitive to the end there, but once again, it's not enough to really push you away from the game. It won't be too bad. And of course, the overall review. This game was amazing. I love my single player games, and it's not very often you come across your single player games that will just draw you in. God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, all those PlayStation exclusives that we know so well, that do this so well. Guardians of the Galaxy is now part of that family. They do it so well, it draws you in, and you have a good experience. I will have to say, I really suggest you guys playing this game. And obviously, for the overall score, mark my words, today we are giving this Guardians of the Galaxy, the game, a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, little bit of negatives, not enough to really push you away from the game, but just not enough to get a solid 10 out of 10 score from me. But I can't stress enough, guys, if you are anywhere near a Marvel fan, play this game. You are going to love it. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening into this. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is the third video that I've brought out, and I'm getting really excited from all my socials. I hope you guys jump on that. The link tree will be in the description. Oh guys, I'm having so much fun with this, and I hope you jump into this. Thank you again for watching. Obviously, please like and subscribe. It helps me a lot, and it just shows me the type of community I'm trying to grow here. So I just can't thank you enough, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.